Okay, folks, this is a video on Neil Young's song, Harvest Moon, for the Wednesday night piano class, which has lately been the Wednesday day piano class. But I appreciate you guys sticking with me and working with me with these songs. This is a beautiful song. It's easy to play, and it teaches us a few things about piano, like I told you in the class. The first thing is this idea of doing a timing pattern on the piano. And all musicians, like I said in the class, do timing patterns. They do, series of chords with rhythm, and they can repeat those all day long. And so the intro in this song So we did that 4 times for our intro, and we're going to do it in the song too. But that's a timing pattern. I could do that all day if I needed to. And oftentimes when you're playing in a band as a piano player, you're just basically playing chords. So I might be doing something like this when I'm actually playing in a band and a singer is singing a song. And into the verse. Okay, so that's kind of a basic idea of the song. Put a little piano solo in there in the middle of it, nothing fancy. This is not a fancy song, it's not really that hard to play. The piano solo is just basically walking around on chords. We're on the F chord when I'm playing that solo. You can see I can just hit an F note. I don't know if you can see this note down here on the piano, I'll do it up here. I can just set a note there, an establishing note, and now I can just play chords on top of it. And you can get as fancy as you want, You can do like a little stack bounce. Okay, so there's lots of things you can do with chords. You can do some scales. So you can do lots of things with it. It's a lot of fun to play and mess around with that. It doesn't have to be intricate at the start when you're trying to play a solo. Just set that note. That's just an F major 7 chord, just arpeggiated down the scale. So we're going to go E, and then through the F chord. C, A, F, okay? And then into E, and then through the F chord again. So, okay? And there's really 1,000 different ways to do it, okay? And we can also use the pentatonic scale on this. And remember, the pentatonic scale, we're going to use it on the C chord, okay? So it's the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 of a scale. So 1, which is C, 2, which is D, E, which is the 3, G, which is the 5, and A, which is the 6. And so we can just play around with that. We can come off of our F arpeggio. And I'm doing a little bouncing there on the left hand. And this is where the intro would normally be, but now I'm going to put a little pentatonic scale to the C chord. I'll just bounce up on the C chord from a low C to a C chord. Let's see. And again, it doesn't have to be that fast. And again, I'm going up and down the scale, progressively up and down the scale. You don't have to do that. You can just use those notes in any combination. There is no bad note. They all blend, okay? So when we put those together, okay? And we go back to that timing pattern because that sets the basic rhythm. And as I told you in the class, we don't really care when we do this left hand. We'll do it to set the pattern at the beginning. But now after that, we can hit the C's pretty much anytime we want. Okay, so there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It just has to sound good. And this is one of those things, like guitar players get good at playing chords by, believe it or not, playing chords. And piano players get good at timing patterns and playing around with stuff like this by doing it, you know. And you have to be willing to make mistakes. Again, very basic and simple. And there I'm just going from a G to a C. Look at the hold here on the right hand. I'm holding the note, holding the chord, okay, which I gave you guys. And I'm going to just go down through the C, the G, and the C. and then you're off to the races. You've got the song already. For those of you who don't have the song, if you just happen to find this and want to learn the song, you can contact me via YouTube and I will get it to you. Just a handwritten copy of a very basic chart that we use in our piano classes. One other thing is if you listen to the recordings of this, and I picked this up after the class, I knew about this. I've done this when I played for other people, but they're actually using an F chord when they start the verse, and they're going down through an arpeggio on the D minor chord. Okay? And so that's what you hear when you listen to the song. You play your little intro. Now we're going to go into the verse, and I'm going to hit that F note, and I can do that little roll down the D minor chord. And now we start playing the melody. Okay, and now you can set that little D minor chord every time you go back to the F chord. So if you want, you can get really bouncy on the left hand. You can bounce in place if you want. As always, when you do the bounce, I recommend that every once in a while you leave part of it out. In other words, instead of doing this, do this. And we do that slower and put it into the song rhythm. We're going to do the bounce. If you can just watch my left hand, hopefully you can see it. I'm going to move the whole piano over to the right a little bit. That's the beauty of a portable piano. So now, if you want to do that in place, do it in place. It still sounds okay. And again, the bounce is not critical timing-wise. In other words, you don't have to do it just like I just did. You can put the bounce in the empty space. Right there in the empty space, okay? You can bounce to a note. You don't have to bounce to a chord. That's just the high C and back to the low C. Bounce to the G and back to the C. And again, I forgot to do the little D minor chord. There's a million different things you can do with this, okay? So, long story short, learn to play the basic song, okay? Which all of you, I'm sure, will be able to do quite quickly. It's not hard to play. And then play around with some of these ideas. Remember that some of the